I think I'm just going to stand here for a minute just to watch the family squirm. They have a tendency to do that every time I pick up a microphone. As you can see, my mom was quite the artist. And not only did she paint, she sewed. A lot of you out there, she taught you how to paint, she taught you how to sew. And most of the kids got some of Mom's talents. Unfortunately, I was not one of them that got her artistic abilities. But if you want to look at her greatest artwork that she's done, he's speaking to you. My mom was the most wonderful woman in the world. Now that she's gone, my wife is going to take over that spot. Now that one should get me further than any dozen roses. When I think of Mom, I think of a woman that knew the true meaning of unconditional love. And she taught each one of us kids how to love, how to respect, and how to have fun while enjoying life to its fullest. Mom was loved by all whose lives she touched, and she touched many lives. I know there had to be times when that love had to be tested, raising 6 kids that her and Dad raised together, but Mom loved her family. It all started in 1951 when Mom and Dad met. They hadn't dated very long before they decided to get married, and that happened in July of 1951. Little Ricky was born on April 9th, 1951. Or was that 1952? That's right. Now that I think about it, 9 months, 9 hours, and 25 minutes after the end of the ceremony. Little Ricky was born. Okay, then in July of 1954, her favorite child was born. That would be me. Now, after the first 2, Mom's love was certain to be tested. Fortunately, Mom had a wonderful sense of humor, although she was a bit naive. Now, first of all, I want to make it clear that none of us kids ever used any illegal drugs, okay? That might be hard to believe looking at some of that, but we didn't. However, we did know what marijuana looked like. In fact, back in those days, some of you that was around Marion at that time, there was actually a picture of a marijuana plant that was on the Marion phone book. So Mom wasn't the only naive one in town at that time. But one day while fishing along the riverbank, little Ricky came upon some wild marijuana plants. He brought one back to the house, put it in a flower pot, and continued to explain to Mom how this plant would bloom into a beautiful blue flower. Well, Mom kept it watered for the next few days, and it was only when Pastor Schmidt came for dinner on Saturday night that Mom found out otherwise. Rick got busted. But Mom continued to love. Then there was a time that Mom was told about a new invention called a Geiger counter. Now this new invention allowed blind people to drive. You could take this Geiger counter and put it on the front of your hood of the car, and would actually allow blind people to drive. Now, some of you remember Dick Masters was a blind man at our church. Well, we told Mom that we had just been downtown and seen Dick Masters using one of these Geiger counters, and he was driving around the square. Shortly after that, Dick got a call from Mom. She was so excited for him. As she hung up the phone, we ran, but she continued to love us. I could go on and on with these stories, but I'm starting to get the time to cut it off signs. So, but we'll go on to the next child. Rhonda was born in October of 1955. Now let's face it, after giving birth to Rhonda, most women would have said, "Doctor, either cut my tubes or cut my throat." But not Mom. Mom went on to have Randy. And by the way, her little puppy There's a story behind that Randy didn't tell you. Randy, when he was born, was so ugly. And this is true. Dad, you tell him if I'm wrong. He was so ugly, they put him out on the front porch for 3 days to see if he was going to bark or cry. That's how he got that. Anyway, they went on to have Randy, and then Renee, and then Mom and Dad adopted Rebecca Lynn. Now at this point, now you're going to find a real story about why they stopped. At this point, the state of Indiana notified Dad that he was going to have to apply for a license to operate a kennel. Well, you know Dad, he wasn't about to cough up the money to go out and buy a kennel license, so they stopped at 6. Mom not only loved her own kids, but she loved everybody else's kids also. Growing up, our house was always full of kids, having a taco party, or just to get together for any reason we could think of. And a lot of you here today, I know, remember all those fun times that we had. This world has lost an amazing woman, and heaven has gained a beautiful saint. The words "rest in peace" don't apply here. For my mom, "the party is on" is much more appropriate. And believe me, with her and Aunt Ginger in heaven together now, there's a party going on. Happy Mother's Day.